right. We're in my workbook called Jesus Starts His Third Year of Ministry, which of course means that it's in year 29 AD. And we have gone through a number of stories in this, and we are now going to be working in chapter 7, Jesus heals in the region of the Gentiles. So let me get to that. And this is in Mark 7:24 to 37. Let me give you a quick review. As we've been studying the start of Jesus's third year in ministry, we have seen a change. The size of the crowds have been huge, and the attitudes of the Jews in the crowd have been strange, and Jesus knows his time is short. We also are starting to see events that are connected to other events. The return of the apostles from their first missionary trip comes as Jesus hears about his cousin John being killed. This leads all of them to try to find a quiet place to rest, which leads to the feeding of the 5,000. This story leads to Peter walking on water, which then leads to Jesus explaining to the closed-minded Jews that he is the bread of life, which is a reference both to the manna in the wilderness and the feeding of the 5,000. But Jesus knows his time is short, and there's much to tell his apostles. So this story we're about to do has them traveling outside the Israel territory and away from a lot of the crowds and angry Pharisees. Okay.
Jesus left that place and went to the vicinity of Tyre. He entered a house and did not want anyone to know it, yet he could not keep his presence secret.
What place did Jesus leave from? Unknown, as the last story in Mark is only identified as being in Galilee. Whose house did he stay in the vicinity of Tyre? Also unknown. Or Tyre, either one. Matthew does tell us that the apostles went with him in Matthew 15:23. Number 1, where did Jesus go to?
Tyre.
Right. Matthew 15:21 gives a little clearer location. Leaving that place, Jesus withdrew to the region of Tyre and Sidon. Circle the area of Tyre and Sidon. So you see it's up on the coast of the Mediterranean Sea. This was roughly 50 miles north of Capernaum. Tyre and Sidon were port cities on the Mediterranean Sea. They were Gentile or non-Jewish cities. Did he want anyone to know where he was?
No.
To the best guess of Bible scholars, he went up there to have some quiet time with his apostles so he could train them. The crowds were getting so big that this was the only way he could kind of reduce the amount of crowd so he could actually pour into the apostles all the information he wanted to give them. Was he able to hide away without anyone knowing where he was?
No.
Jesus did not obey the Jewish tradition that said a faithful Jew would have nothing to do with Gentiles and never enter a Gentile home. This is a third break from tradition and law since chapter 7 of Mark.
In fact, as soon as she heard about him, a woman whose little daughter was possessed by an impure spirit came and fell at his feet. Excuse me. The woman was a Greek, born in Syria,
Phoenicia.
Phoenicia. Okay.
PH is always F. Phoenicia.
Yeah, Phoenicia.
So who came to see Jesus?
A woman.
Why did she come to see Jesus?
Her daughter was possessed.
Right. What nationality was this woman?
Greek.
Right. And where was this woman born?
Syrian Phoenicia.
Right. Syria and Phoenicia are both areas like Galilee or Samaria. Tyre and Sidon are in the area of Phoenicia. This woman was probably born on the Syrian side of Phoenicia. Matthew just lists her as a Canaanite. Both descriptions are true for the same area. In both cases, this means she's not a Jew. Looking at Matthew's scripture below, does it seem like she knows Jesus is the Messiah?
Yes.
Matthew 15:22. A Canaanite woman from that vicinity came to him crying out, Lord, Son of David, have mercy on me. My daughter is demon possessed and suffering terribly. Yes, sounds like she knows that he's the Messiah, even though she's not Jewish.
Mhm. She begged Jesus to drive the demon out of her daughter. First, let the children eat all they want, he told her, for it is not right to take the children's bread and toss it to the little dogs.
Yeah, to our ears, this is a very cruel statement coming from Jesus. But let's break it down. Sometimes in translation, we hear something different than what is meant. First, complete the first sentence.
First, let the children eat all they want.
Jesus's first ministry was to the Jews. Although this is hard for us to understand, it is consistent with his words and actions. Look to the story about where he sent out the apostles on their first missionary journey, Matthew 10, 5 through 6. Jesus also says this in Matthew's version of the story, Matthew 5, 24. He answered, I was sent only to the lost sheep of Israel. This doesn't mean that non-Jews were not to hear about God's kingdom. They were just not to be the first. In Jesus's final commission to his apostles, he says, Acts 1:8, but you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes on you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem and in all Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth. Paul, a missionary in the book of Acts, and who wrote many of the letters of the New Testament, was given the mission to preach to the Gentiles by Jesus. Acts 22:21. Then the Lord said to me, go, I will send you far away to the Gentiles. So now complete number 2.
For it is not right to take the children's bread and toss it to the little dogs.
The term Jesus uses here for little dogs is that of a family pet who sits under the table waiting for crumbs. Many translations do not have the word little, and therefore it seems to give a much harsher rebuke. Family pet is still loved by the family, but waits its turn to eat.
Lord, she replied, even the dogs under the table eat the children's crumbs. Then he told her, for such a reply you may go. The demon has left your daughter. She went home and found her child lying on the bed and the demon gone.
Did the woman get angry with Jesus?
No.
This woman knew that in that time, in every way, she had no right to approach Jesus. She was a Gentile, a woman, and her daughter had an unclean spirit, but she didn't care. She was so desperate to get help for her daughter. What was her response to Jesus's statement?
Even the dogs under the table ate the children's crumbs.
Jesus was impressed by her reply. What did he do for her?
The demon has left her daughter.
In the verse from Matthew below, how strong was the woman's faith?
Great faith.
Right. Matthew 15:28. Then Jesus said to her, woman, you have great faith. Your request is granted. And her daughter was healed at that moment. According to Matthew below, when was her daughter healed? A day later, a few hours later, or at that moment?
At that moment.
Right.
Then Jesus left the vicinity of Tyre, and went through Sidon down to the Sea of Galilee and into the region of the Decapolis.
Right.
Decapolis.
So find Tyre, that's on the Mediterranean Sea, right there in Phoenicia, and underline it. Find Sidon, which is above it. Make a line from Tyre to Sidon. That's about 20 miles. Find the area Sea of Galilee, which is that small little area right near Galilee there, that small little blue area. Make a line from Sidon down the right side of Galilee to the region of Decapolis. The name Decapolis means 10 cities. And Galilee, Judea, and Perea are the regions of the Jews. The Samaritans were a people of mixed race, Jewish and other race. Those are the mixed races. Gentiles or non-Jews occupied Phoenicia, Syria, and Decapolis. Jesus is traveling in non-Jewish territory. This is not a casual walk. From Sidon to the region of Decapolis has to be at least 100 miles or more. This would have taken several days.
There some people brought to him a man who was deaf and could hardly talk, and they begged Jesus to place his hand on him. After he took him aside, away from the crowd, Jesus put his fingers into the man's ears. Then he spit and touched the man's tongue. He looked up to heaven and with a deep sigh said to him, I don't know how to pronounce that.
That's okay.
Which means be opened. At this, the man's ears were opened, his tongue was loosened, and he began to speak plainly.
Right. What were the two things wrong with the man that was brought to Jesus?
Deaf and could hardly talk.
At first, this seems to be a strange way for Jesus to heal this man. But consider, could the man hear?
No.
So Jesus touches the man's ears to have the man know what he's going to do. Could the man speak?
No.
Which is why Jesus touches the man's tongue. The man could not hear nor respond to Jesus's words if Jesus spoke. How do we know that Jesus prayed before the miracle?
He looked up to heaven with a deep sigh.
Right. Considering the area that this miracle was done, was this man probably Jew or Gentile?
Gentile.
Right. The demon-possessed man that Jesus healed in the region of Gerasenes in Mark 5, 1 through 20 is from Decapolis. Remember what Jesus told him to do after he was healed? Mark 5, 19, 20. Jesus did not let him come with him, but said, go home to your own people and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you. So the man went away and began to tell in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him. And all the people were amazed. Perhaps these people knew about Jesus from this very man. Is that right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Yeah. Jesus commanded them not to tell anyone, but the more he did so, the more they kept talking about it. People were overwhelmed with amazement. He has done everything well, they said. He even makes the deaf hear and the mute speak.
What did Jesus not want them to do?
Not to tell anyone.
Were the people able to do what Jesus requested?
No.
Why do you think Jesus didn't want the people to tell of the miracle?
I would think that he just wanted some quiet time.
Right. The crowds are just getting way too big and it's real hard to move along. So that's probably why. We don't know for sure, but that's probably why. This man went from being deaf and hardly able to speak to be able to hear and speak plainly. How difficult would it have been for you if you were this man not to explain how you were healed?
Well, it'd be very difficult, as I would want to tell everybody.
Right. Yes. Any good news I have, I want to tell the world.
Yeah.
Jesus did not hesitate to heal this man who was a Gentile. So why did Jesus hesitate with the woman in the first part of this chapter?
That one was kind of confusing, but she was quick to answer him back about the dogs and eating the kids' crumbs under the table. So I guess that was the only difference.
Well, yeah. Obviously, they're both Gentile and they're both needing healing. I would say in the woman's case, he's always having a teaching moment and he always has the disciples around him. So in this, the teaching case was he knew that she would have a ready answer or that her answer would be strong and show how strong her faith was. And I think his apostles and disciples needed to hear it. You know, with the man, everybody was bringing it to him. So there wasn't just one sense of faith. There was a lot of people who had faith. And so they're both the same. It's just that he uses one more for a teaching moment than the other in that respect.
Yeah, that makes sense. You said that better than I could. That's
Yeah.
what I meant. Yeah.
In this act, Jesus fulfills prophecy, Isaiah 35, 5 through 6. Then will the eyes of the blind be open and the ears of the deaf unstopped. Then will the lame leap like a deer and the mute tongue shout for joy.
Yeah.
Okay, crossword. Oh, I put one of these in. When I make one of these, that's because there were no better crosswords than this one. And when I design these, I go to a site and it designs my crosswords, and I have 5 to pick from. And I usually don't make one like this, but so this must have been the
Oh.
best one there was. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Woman, great is
Faith,
your request is granted. Number 4, what nationality was the woman who came to Jesus?
Greek,
Number 7, the woman was born in Syrian,
Phoenicia,
correct. Number 9, for it is not right to take the children's
bread,
and toss it to the little dogs. Is it bread or crumbs? But no, okay, could be bread. 2 down, Jesus left the place and went into the vicinity of,
Tyre,
okay, number 3, from Sidon, Jesus traveled to the region of,
Decapolis,
good, and 5, the vicinity of Tyre is not Jewish, but
Greek, Gentile,
good. Number 6, what was the relationship of the woman to the person she wanted healed?
daughter,
Daughter or mother? What was the relationship of the woman to the person she wanted healed? Does daughter work or mother? M-O, daughter, I guess. Huh. All right. From Tyre, Jesus went through
Sidon.
and then down to the Sea of Galilee. Sometimes I guess I need to have these crosswords filled out right next to it. So if we have a question, we can look at the crossword.
Yeah. What was the relationship of the
Okay.
woman to the person she
Okay,
wanted
so
to?
we're going to.
Yeah, it
stop
should have
this
been
one.
mother, but mother. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
daughter is the one that worked. Okay, so I'm going to close this off and I'll see you on the next one, okay?
Okay.